Welcome to our third try. We already recorded this review 2 other times. The first one was like 25 some odd minutes at least. The second one was like 15. And neither took. One didn't take at all. And the second one's audio was completely unusable. So third review, same movie. 40 minutes so far has been wasted. And we're both upset about it, and I genuinely don't know if I can handle if this one doesn't take.
Yeah.
So, Godzilla -1. Let's talk about it again.
We'll talk about it
Jesus,
again.
I feel like we're in Groundhog Day. So, this is the, I think, 33rd Toho Godzilla film. There's quite a few. And we actually watched, so the one difference here is that the other two were last night. This morning we watched Godzilla.
Yes.
The 1954 original classic.
We did.
Which Kaylee had never seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has a little Godzilla context because she had never seen one before.
I hadn't.
Now this is the newest one, and that is the oldest one. Yes. So you got a very big contrast. There's a lot in between with the 5 American ones, the TV show that's currently airing. There's a lot of Godzilla out there.
Yeah.
So this one is set during the end of World War II. And it follows a kamikaze pilot who is a conscientious objector last minute. And, we follow his story. And, much like the first one, this, of course, has some social and cultural, messaging in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that about the original.
Yeah.
Right? The commentary. And I also really liked it here because this is, and I've seen quite a few Godzilla movies, not all of them, but quite a few. This is definitely the best Godzilla movie that I've ever watched. And I think that what they were able to accomplish with a $15 million budget in today's landscape, going up against $200 million plus blockbusters, and the American Godzilla films being some of those films.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kong versus Godzilla was probably around that price tag. And this is far superior because what those movies lack, the American ones specifically, and a good amount of the like Toho ones too that are like super silly, this one just has heart and something to say. Like the other ones are entertaining, but that's all they are. They are just purely popcorn films. The plot is there only to fill runtime. It's like, how do we get these guys? How do we get Godzilla to fight Kong? How do we get Godzilla to fight, whoever the hell in the American movies?
Yeah, right? That's not the case with this one at all.
And then we also because Godzilla and the monsters don't have personalities per se, we can't fill an entire film. Even though I've seen people call for this, where they're like, I just want the monsters and no humans. The humans are the lamest part. Not in this one.
No.
Not in this one at all. While in the other movies, I can probably agree to a degree. This one is I wouldn't say the exact opposite, because I think Godzilla is wonderful and he's very well utilized in this movie. But the characters are the core of the story and what keeps you engaged throughout. And that is what a Godzilla movie at its best does need to be. It does need to have really great, strong human characters to connect and to resonate with. Because Godzilla isn't much of like a character. He's
a force of nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved this movie. I didn't really know what to expect when we went into it, and I was very surprised and happy about my surprise of how much I loved it. I mean, it's funny because we've already talked about this so many times, like outside of the reviews that we try to do, but also separately and everything. But yeah, the characters are fantastic. The main character is a really compelling and tragic human,
Yeah.
and just all the people around him are also very interesting and like fully realized characters. I love the I obviously love that it's Japanese and that it addresses like Japanese culture, especially in that time
Yeah.
period. And I think that's really important. And I just felt very bad for Godzilla like the entire movie. And after watching the original too this morning, I have to say I felt kind of the same way.
Yeah.
So I feel really sad that Godzilla is kind of he's made into the monster, but isn't necessarily that way on his own. I think that he's a result of like human actions, like he's the consequence. And
Yeah.
the movie does a great job at showing that, like the consequences of like nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction and what
Yeah.
that could potentially mean for the planet.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic. The soundtrack too, especially because like when we saw this, I didn't really know the like original score, but obviously it's very iconic. And after watching the original, now I understand like what parts were the original score or what parts are that like melody, and I think it's used really well. I think that this score is wonderful.
Yeah. We get some really great character moments in this film. And I really like, having now rewatched the original, I would say that this is very close in tone and in structure. And I think this just does it better.
Mm,
I do like the original. I just think that, they've perfected the formula,
yeah.
right? After so many films, you would hope that they would figure it out. And this is the one. And this is very much like an origins,
Hmm.
right? This isn't following where like Godzilla's been around. Like this is very much like the
This is the
first
beginning.
movie
Hmm.
in a new series. And this absolutely leaves off for a sequel
Hmm.
that you absolutely immediately want.
Yeah.
And I just think, yeah, there's so much there's so much we said, and
Yeah.
I just I don't feel like reiterating so much of it, but
We are going to do a spoiler discussion in the
yeah.
future, so we will be able to go like more in depth. I know that in one of the review takes that we did, we kind of spent a while talking about Godzilla as a concept, which is really fun to explore, but we
Yeah.
won't do that again here, but we will probably do it again in the spoiler discussion.
We also won't be as annoyed as we are right now.
Yeah.
we're,
We're just a
we're
little
probably not as
frustrated.
entertaining because half of me is like, this probably won't even take, and we're gonna have to do it again. So why even bother?
The movie, we both love the
Loved it.
movie. We both think it's phenomenal, and
Yes.
it's definitely something that you should go see. This Godzilla minus one was the first Godzilla film that I had watched,
Yeah.
so I went into it without any context. I mean, like aside from the general idea of what Godzilla was, I had no idea what to expect, and I really really loved it. So
Yeah. Yeah. The way Godzilla is utilized here is wonderful. He's very menacing.
mm-hmm.
The stakes are high. There's some good surprises, but at the same time, the film is also pretty predictable. I mean, I was telling Kaylee throughout, I was like, oh, this happened, but this is going to happen, whatever. It's pretty obvious, but it's okay because those are all the things that you want to happen. And when
Mm.
they do, there's still fist pump moments, even though you are like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. But, at the back of your mind, you're like, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you're like, oh, but I guess that not only because I wanted it, but that's the next logical step of the story. Which, can be a good and a bad thing. Like, I do want to be surprised. I do want it to take chances and risks and whatever. And I hope that the sequel does that. I don't want the sequel to follow in line with this one as far as like how safe and obvious
Mm.
certain things are.
Yeah.
Right. But man, Okay, the biggest compliment I can give this film that I did not say in the other videos is this for sure. Would I have watched this movie? And I think this is the most important thing. I think if anyone talks about a Godzilla movie, this should be the number one thing to say about it, because you can't have Godzilla the entire film. That's just
You
not how
can't.
it's ever going
Yeah.
to be, right? So you're always going to be dealing with human characters and a human storyline, and then Godzilla is going to be put into that as the threat. He's going to be put that in that as like either the anti-hero or as the villain. Now in the Japanese one, the original, and in this one, he is the villain. In the American ones, they like to make him a little bit more of like the anti-hero hero. But regardless, uh, the thing I will say about this one is, or the question you should ask yourself, would I watch this movie if everything was the same, but Godzilla wasn't in it?
Right. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Right. So I'm super engaged enough in the human story
Yeah.
that Godzilla is a bonus. Right. It's kind of like the movie The Descent. I'm so into everything going on with the spelunkers, and and I'm so gripped by them being stuck in the caves and the relationships built between and the tension, and everything is so fantastic. The monsters aren't even necessary.
Yeah.
Right? The monsters are a plus, they're a bonus.
Yeah.
And I like that they're included, and I wouldn't want to take them out. But would I have still watched the movie and still liked it almost as much as I did with or without it? Yeah, probably. I think that Godzilla elevates it another step because I do like the inclusion of him. But if he was just like a tornado,
Yeah.
or what, a nuclear bomb or whatever, it would be just as good, as far as like the human story goes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't need Godzilla, but I'm super glad that he's there.
Yes.
Because the way Godzilla looks too, the way
so
that
awesome.
they do the effects on him, he has some really great moments.
Really, really great.
And while $15 million is very impressive, I do hope they hire the same writers and they get the same crew back, but also that they give them at least double to triple the budget. Give them at least 40 million, 50 million. If they can do this on 15 million, because Godzilla is sparing, right?
Yeah.
And I would like to use the budget even more towards some more more badass sequences, because I think the next one's gonna need it. But yeah, Godzilla -2. But as I told Kaylee in the end of our last one, the movie should have been Godzilla 100.
Yeah.
Earth or Japan -1.
-1.
They're the ones that are losing.
That's the score.
That's the score.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic film.
Really, really good.
If you're a Godzilla fan, you already saw it.
Yeah.
If for some reason you're on the fence, take it from Kaylee.
Yeah.
She's not someone who even cared.
I had and now I'm like really getting into Godzilla. So it might happen to you too.
Yeah, she actually asked to watch Godzilla. So we watched it this morning. And would you be wanting to watch another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would, actually, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, now, but I do want to say, if for some reason you're like, well, I watched the original Godzilla and I thought it was terrible, I still think you should watch this anyway.
For sure.
I do think this is quite a bit better, but I think the original, it's hard to compare. There's such drastically different times.
Yeah.
Right? But regardless.
We'll probably do some comparisons in our spoiler discussion.
Sure.
And maybe even do a spoiler discussion on the original Godzilla at some point too.
And there's some homages in here.
There absolutely
that we
noticed
we
now know.
Yeah. That I rewatched it and she watched it. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that's where it was set, and I forgot this and that. So this is like a loose remake of the original.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. And damn, dude, I am like chomping at that bit.
Yes.
For part 2.
One, yeah.
So
absolutely.
Get it in theaters, man. Go out, support the film. We need more cool, unique foreign cinema.
Yeah.
Even though, of course, this is like the freaking 38th or 39th. I think it's like the 38th film in the Godzilla franchise. with the Japanese and the American ones combined. But I don't care because this one's so damn good.
It's so good.
And a good amount of people I know have this as their number one of the year. Like, people who aren't even Godzilla fans are like, oh, that was my favorite film of the year. Period.
Which is awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And does this qualify as horror? I mean, it's a giant monster movie that comes and absolutely wrecks entire cities and murders thousands and thousands. I mean, the first time he comes into town, he kills tens of thousands of people.
Oh my god. Yeah.
He is a destructive force.
I think it's definitely horror.
He kills more people in the first attack than all the slasher villains combined.
Absolutely. It's a monster movie, so yeah.
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 So anyway, absolutely check it out.
Yes.
Absolutely give it a chance. It is subtitled. It is in Japanese, so you're gonna have to know how to read.
Yep.
So that's a prerequisite. As long as you can read and read quick, you'll be all right.
You'll be fine.
All right, guys. Please don't make us do this again. Please, God, don't make us do this again.
Godzilla.
Please, Godzilla. I was gonna say that. I was 1 second behind you. As soon as I said God, I was like, Zilla. I should have said Zilla. All right, guys.
Bye.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it won't be. Fourth time. Let's go.